if you will please welcome to the stage, give a big New York welcome to Mr. Chris Voss.
All right. Chris Voss, huh? Good call. All right, here we go. Let's start with this, see if this works.
Love affair with the word hostage. Listen.
You do not hold people hostage or engage in ransom taking to get 100% of your way.
They're trying to hold veterans hostage to force Obamacare on the American people.
You cannot negotiate with a hostage situation.
They had to take the country hostage.
Whether or not it's correct to kind of use the hostage terms by politicians, when you see this, as somebody who's negotiated a lot, when you see what's going on in Washington, what jumps out to you?
Well, there's two things about that. You know, on a personal note, I like that they use the word because then it gives me a chance to be on your show. And
I get it. You know what? I haven't been able to focus on anything. His company is called the Black Swan Group. That is the baddest ass name I have ever heard. I love that. Now, what is the Black Swan Group? That's like the coolest. What is that?
Thank you very much. A black swan is something unusual that has a great impact, and we like to think that the way we negotiate has a great impact.
See? That's cool, right?
I love
All right. How often do you get a chance to tell a joke that makes Anderson Cooper laugh, right? All right, but there's a communication lesson in there. There's a negotiation lesson. There's a sales lesson in there, buried in that. What do you think it is? I'm sorry? What do you think the lesson is? What is it? See, the thing that I love about hostage negotiation, what we come to learn is, when we invented this back in the 1970s, we didn't know it was all neuroscience-based. You know, we were psychologists. Psychologists did a great job before we could actually look inside the brain and see how it works. Everything we did in hostage negotiations backed up by neuroscience and communication. The neuroscience, negotiation, communication lesson here is you're up to 31% smarter in a positive frame of mind. 31%, that's no small jump. The mood that we have directly correlates to how efficiently your brain functions. For hostage negotiators, we would calm people down. We'd use a thing called the late night FM DJ voice. And people would calm down. We didn't know why it worked, we just knew it worked. It actually turned their brain down. 31% smarter in a positive frame of mind. What's the lesson here for you? Now, as a hostage negotiator, you know, do I show up at a bank going like, hey, I'm from Iowa, I just flew in, boy, my arm's tired. I'm not telling jokes. You know, I didn't go on Anderson Cooper telling a joke, but I did use humor appropriate to the context. When you're using humor, you're up to 31% smarter. Think about that. You're also causing your counterpart to be up to 31% smarter, putting them in a mood. One of our terms for negotiation is flexibility. Never be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't take something better. Cool, all right, so that sounds cool, I'll do that. How do I get something better to happen? Appropriate humor in the moment. I don't tell that joke. Jeffrey Toobin does not give me the best commercial my company ever had. The Black Swan Group, that's the baddest ass name I ever heard. What is that? He does that spontaneously. I cause him to have the idea in his head. He doesn't know it came from me because I made him feel better. He gives me something enormously valuable, receiving nothing in return. But it's contextual to the moment. Context is always important. A friend of mine was telling me he's in a negotiation, he works for Raytheon. What is Raytheon? Raytheon is the government's arms dealer, right? Sell weapons on behalf of the US government, arms dealer around the world. They're selling weapons to Korea. South Korea, they got a problem. The relationship is breaking down. They send my friend to South Korea to negotiate with these guys. South Koreans are so mad at these guys, they put them in a room in the middle of this building, a room that's got no windows. You know, I'm surprised they didn't waterboard them when they came in. But they got them in a room with no windows because they're trying to make it unpleasant for them. And it's an unpleasant negotiation. While they're in the middle of this negotiation, the lights go out. So if you're in a room with no windows, you're in pitch black. The lights go completely out. They're sitting there. He says, after a couple minutes sitting in the pitch black, he says, whose hand is that on my leg? And the lights come back on and they all laugh. And then they make the deal. Now, of course, they felt better about each other, but they simultaneously felt better about each other and got smarter in the moment. This is crazy. Here's how crazy this is. And here's how you can begin to override your system and hack your system, because 2 out of 3 in this room are not normally in a positive frame of mind. There's a number of things we know about the types of human beings that survived on a planet, and regardless of gender or ethnicity, we break down pretty much into 3 types: fight, flight, and make friends. Now, the make friends type from the caveman days is normally in a pretty good mood. The fight, flight guys, I'm a fight guy. You know, we're not running around in a positive frame of mind on a regular basis. So we're actually not tapping into our full mental capacity. How can you hack that if you're in one of those types, if you're like me? They did a psychological experiment where they asked people to hold a pencil in their mouth without letting their lips touch it. What are you doing? You're smiling, right? Can we fool ourselves if we know we're in a positive frame of mind? What happens if you don't know you're in a positive frame of mind? Is there a hardwired connection between the facial muscles, the nerves, and the brain? They did the experiment, their brain picked up anyway. They didn't know they were smiling. You force a smile onto your face. If I look at you and I smile, I hit your mirror neurons. It's an involuntary reaction. I could pick anybody out in this room. If I smile at you, even if you frown back at me, you're going to be fighting the smile in your face, fighting the smile in your brain with your frown. But that still means I'm still hitting your mirror neurons. You can't stop it. If you can hear, I can hit your mirror neurons. If you can see, I can hit your mirror neurons. It's an involuntary response. Here's another crazy piece of information along these lines that I found out recently. They gave Botox to women who are depressed. Our sample group happens to be women. Do not be misled by the fact that they're women, because this worked because they're human beings, not because they're women. You gotta be careful the kind of data you get. If you misinterpret data, then you say things like playing basketball makes you tall. You gotta understand how you interpret your data. So sample size is women. This works because they're human beings, not because they're women. They're depressed. They give them Botox so they can't frown anymore. The mood instantly elevates. Instantly. Because they override the system. If you're a natural frowner, you're hurting yourself. Bad news about that experiment is with Botox, they also have trouble smiling. So they can't elevate the rest of the way up there. It's a neuroscience rule. Make yourself smile. You'll hack your system. You'll communicate better. You will get more. You will get surprises in your deals, unexpected stuff. You get the Jeffrey Toobin, give you something enormously valuable. You didn't give him anything in return. So let me see if I can tell you a little bit more about myself. I was the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator. What did that mean? What that meant was any American got kidnapped anywhere in the world, it was my job to come up with a negotiation strategy that got you out, set the stage for us to follow on and get the bad guys afterwards. Effectively, the way that we ran the program was, it's the same reason you give a bank teller bait money. Bank robber comes in, you don't want the bank teller to get killed. Money's great evidence. You actually want the bank robber to leave with some money. If he gets all the way back to his hideout, he divides up the money, then you get the people that work with him. It's a pretty good system. So that's what I did. And I worked kidnappings all over the world. So if an American got grabbed someplace, and let's make a distinction, this is not Americans getting arrested by a government in North Korea. That's an illegal detention. That wasn't my thing. What I did was kidnappers, criminals, terrorists. That was my job. So you might ask yourself, all right, so how busy is the lead international kidnapping negotiator? Well, it's a big world, and there are a lot of Americans doing really stupid things. So you get called on a regular basis. But this instance, in particular in Haiti, Haiti's a little bit different ballgame. A lot of dual nationals getting grabbed in Haiti. Bad guys don't know they're taking Americans, they're dual nationals. Now this is happening on a regular basis because, do you guys know this, and this is one of the reasons why I'm an unabashed patriot, fan of the United States. We're not perfect. We got our shortcomings. I think we're a phenomenal place. How many countries in the world, if you're born there, are you a citizen? Do you know? I grew up in Iowa. I know the accent doesn't sound like I grew up in Iowa, but I grew up in Iowa. I grew up there and I thought, I was born here, I'm entitled to citizenship. It's the way of the world. It's the way things should be. No, it's not. It's argued that there are only 2 developed nations on the entire planet that have birthright by citizenship by birth. I believe the Latin term is jus soli, which is right of the soil. Those of you who can speak Latin, forgive me for my butchering of the pronunciation. 2 countries in the entire world, 2 developed nations, US and Canada, not 1 country in Europe. You're born in England, you get citizenship? No. You're born in Australia, you get citizenship? No. They'd laugh at you, they think that's hysterical. United States, right of birth. As it turns out, it's largely a creature, a thought, an idea of the Americas. Most of the countries in North and South America, for whatever reason, how these cultures came to be here, we believe in citizenship by birthright. What does this have to do with Haiti? Haitian moms know the very best gift they could possibly give to their child on their child's literal first birthday is a gift of American citizenship and the privileges and opportunities that brings. So Haitian moms, one way or another, legal or illegal, are finding their way into American soil so the child can be born an American citizen. That's why the bad guys don't know they're grabbing Americans, they think they're grabbing Haitians. Now at the time, also, recognition, kidnapping is a business. I'm the most practiced negotiator on international commodities of any other hostage negotiator. Kidnapping is a business, it's a commodity business. To us, it's a horrible event. To the kidnappers, it's a job. It's what they do. It's commodities business. Commodity happens to be human beings. They don't care. It's what they do. They got a division of labor. They got people that acquire the commodity. They got people that transport the commodity. They got people that house the commodity. They got people that release the commodity. They got people that handle the transactions for the commodity. They got a boss that sits back and watches everybody and criticizes what they do. Just like everybody else has a boss that criticizes what you do. You guys saw the movie Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, right? Who did he negotiate with in that movie? The Voice. The Voice's job was to negotiate. It's a business. Haitian kidnapping business at the time, the bad guys got a great business model. It's actually, I was impressed with what they'd come to as a business model. Carjack a car with more than 1 person in it, let 1 person go, keep the other person in the car. You've immediately handled your notifications. You don't have to worry about marketing, if you will. You've pre-qualified your customer. If they got a car, they got money for a ransom. In Haiti, you got a car, you got some dough. You got money for a car and gas, you can pay a ransom. You're pre-qualified. And what happens if you grab the 1 person in the family that nobody likes? You got a car. Pretty sharp, right? Very sharp business model. So I get a call one day, 12-year-old boy in Haiti's been grabbed. 12-year-old boy's an American citizen. His father is not. His father knows that his son is an American citizen, and because of that, he's supposed to get help from the US government. Goes to the United States government, says, my son's a citizen, he's been kidnapped. And the State Department says, the FBI is going to be there to help you. Put my next slide, or put my slides back up, please. I'm not sure what went through his mind when he heard that, but I'm sure that probably about 15 minutes later, he expected to hear a, and these guys would be there at his door. Maybe they'd have FBI hats on. But instead, 15 minutes later, he gets a call from some guy in Washington, D.C. named Chris Voss, and he literally says to me on the phone, you're in Washington, D.C., how you gonna help me? Now, how much time have I got before this guy hangs up the phone? Seconds, right? How much time do I got? You're me. What do you say? How long do you have to make a first impression? Do you know? 7 seconds. Same amount of time as me. When you're making a first impression, you think people aren't saying to themselves, how you gonna help me? You think they're not saying that to themselves? In that 7 seconds, what do you have to establish? In that 7 seconds, what did I have to establish? Trust. What else?
Confidence.
Not confidence, close, competency. Not the same thing. You got the same amount of time as me. You got to establish the exact same things I had to establish. You got somebody saying to you, about you, in their head, the same thing that that father said to me on the phone. How you gonna help me? It's the same thing. What do you say? You're me, what do you say? Now, the reason why I knew what to say to this father is because I've done it wrong in the past. First time I showed up in the Philippines on a case that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, I did it wrong. They walked me into a room, the entire heads of the government are there. Because as an American, it's been grabbed. I've been invited in by the ambassador. The ambassador's personally signed off on me coming in. The head of our office in Manila has brought me in. Everybody other than the president of the Philippines is in the room. The only reason the president is not there is his personal advisor is. Secretary of Defense is there, head of the police, everybody is there. And basically, in sum and substance, what they say, how are you going to help us? I make the mistake of laying out my resume. FBI agent, hostage negotiator, work terrorism, won the Attorney General's Award for Excellence in Investigation, the FBI Agents Association Award for Distinguished and Exemplary Service. Been on a terrorist task force in New York City for 14 years. Not only have I been trained by the FBI and Scotland Yard, I wrote the book that we train from now. I will tell you, they were suitably unimpressed. They may as well have yawned right in my face. I remember walking out of that meeting, the head of our office goes, those guys were disrespectful, they challenged your credentials. I'm from Iowa. I go like, how cool was that? When did I ever get to argue with the Secretary of Defense of an entire country? Why is that? Why is me laying out my resume, you laying out your resume stupid?
It's all about you.
Number one, it's all about me, but number two, your resume correlates loosely with whether or not you know what you're doing. If your resume correlated accurately with what you did, you guys would never make a bad hire, would you? What I say to that father? Here's what I said. All right, so Haitian kidnappers are not killing kidnap victims these days. I realize it's really stupid because they kill each other at the drop of a hat, but they're not killing kidnap victims. Now, today is Thursday, and Haitian kidnappers love to party on Saturday night. So if you say the things that I want you to say, when I want you to say them, we'll have your son out late Friday, early Saturday morning. He said, tell me what you want me to do. And we had his son out Saturday morning. So let's break down a little bit what I said or what I didn't say. First of all, which took more time? Me laying out my resume or me laying out what he was faced with? It took less time for me to lay out what he was faced with, didn't it? I will tell you also in the course of getting his son out, he never asked me how long I'd been an FBI agent. He never asked me how long I'd been a negotiator. He never asked me how many countries I'd negotiated in. He never asked me how many cases in Haiti I'd negotiated in. He never even asked me how many times I've been to Haiti. You know how many times I've been to Haiti? Never. I've never been to Haiti. Did I speak French? Did I speak Creole? Did he ask me those questions? And you may have asked yourself already, there's basically 168 countries in this world, a lot of languages. How many languages does Chris Voss speak if he negotiated all over the world? And by now you realize the answer to that is barely one. He didn't ask me those questions. I told him what he was facing, because when someone says, how are you going to help me? Their first question is, okay, so you've been doing this for a long time. Do you see what I see? Do you know what I'm looking at? I laid it out for him, and I offered him the slightest bit of insight. And they say to themselves, wow, if you see clearly what's in front of me, there's a really good chance you know what you're doing. Do I have to explain this to you? Do I have to explain to you my challenges? You lay it out. One of two things happen. They say to you, that's right. Or they say, no, that's not it, this is it. What happens when they say, that's not it, this is it? You're in dialogue. You're in collaboration instantly. You're trying to get to dialogue and collaboration instantly, aren't you? And many people don't realize that when somebody corrects you, that means you're in collaboration, you're in dialogue. And you're on your way with that. Here's a couple of other things I did not do. And one of them is probably the two worst habits you have. Did I try to get him to say yes? You guys are hardwired to hear yes. You guys are desperate for it. You guys got an addiction to yes. You didn't know it was going to be that kind of a meeting, did you? Hi, Chris. It's so bad. Here's how bad it is. And getting you out of that. You think getting people to say yes, the yes momentum, the yesable proposition, get them to say yes to a lot of little things, and they say yes to the big thing. You're addicted to that. And getting out of that is going to be one of the most difficult things you could do. Not complicated, but here's how difficult it's going to be. Everybody make a fist with either hand. Right thumb up. Left forefinger out. Now switch. That hurt, didn't it? Switch back. Some of you are going like, I got your left forefinger. I saw him right here. See if he sees this. Was that complicated, what I asked you to do? Do you need to be Elon Musk to know what I was trying to get you to do? No. But it was awkward and it was difficult. I know there's somebody in the back room right now going like, Here's the cool thing about that, brain science. The difficulty that you felt trying to get that done is actually the creation of a new neural pathway. That's a cool idea. The neuroscience rules are the synapses that fire together wire together. Now, your yes habit is hardwired. That road is built, and you're used to screaming down that road in your thought processes. Getting out of it is going to take some repetitions. How many? 63. John Foley, Blue Angel pilot, I heard him give a speech probably about 2 years ago. He talked about wiring grooves into their brain, which is the same thing as the neural pathways and new habits that I'm talking about. And they, if they don't wire a groove into their brain, these guys crash into each other in the air and people start to die instantly. And he said they did some research on it. He said it took about 63 to 65 repetitions to put a new habit in the brain. But at the very beginning, it's as hard as that was, and you quit and you give up. And because you think it's going to be that hard the whole time. You're like, I'm not doing this anymore. It hurts my head. But you don't know how close you actually are to breaking through a new habit. Everybody knows what the bell curve looks like. It's very steep, and then it peaks, and then you take off on the other end. You're building a new habit. Some of the new habits I'm going to share with you today, at the beginning, you just see how steep this thing is initially, and you're like, this is too hard. I'm not doing this anymore. But I got to get you out of the yes habit. I got to get you out of that. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. I don't even bother with the word yes. And when we were working on the book, one of the guys that I was working with, he said, hey, how'd you get, as a hostage negotiator, how'd you get kidnappers to say yes? The only question I can remember being thoroughly stumped by, because I'd never really thought about it that hard. at that time. And I said, no, we never did. It's a useless word. So we didn't even bother with it. So some of you are sitting there thinking right now, like, okay, fine, now what do you want me to do? Because that's all I do. And you know what? I close deals that way too. You can't tell me that I don't close deals getting people to say yes. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying your batting average isn't anywhere close to what it should be. You're batting 125 when you should be batting 350 for you baseball players. Yeah, stick to 125. You want to stay there? Because this is what it looks like, and this is why it fails. Would you like to have a more efficient system? Would you like to have more customers? Would you like to have more free time? Buy my product. Now, this is, maybe there was a point in time when this was a good idea. Maybe. But the swampland timeshare salesman, the coupon book, the $50,000 coupon book salesman, has already battered them so hard that they're battered by yes. You guys know anecdotally what happens if you come across a battered child and you try to hug them. They still flinch and jump back from you. But wait a minute, I was trying to give them a hug. I'm a good guy. I meant well. I wasn't trying to trap them. I was trying to have integrity. It doesn't matter, they're battered. Everybody's battered by yes. You got to stop this. You got to stop it. Okay, fine, you convinced me. Now what? You know who this is? Jack Welch. Jack. One of the most famous CEOs, former CEO of GE, author of a number of books. Jack winning the real life MBA. Jack Welch come to Los Angeles a couple of years ago. He and his wife Susie, the latest book, The Real Life MBA. I'm going to go to the book signing. I'm going to ask Jack to come speak at the class I'm teaching at that time at the USC Marshall School of Business in the MBA program. Negotiation. I want Jack to come speak to my negotiation class. How many people try to get Jack Welch to say yes to something that day? Everybody. How many people in a book signing are going to try to get Jack Welch to say yes to something? They come up to him and say, hey, Jack, you want to come to the house? Wife makes a great meatloaf. How many people? Everybody. You're me, what do you say? How much time have I got? Maybe not 7 seconds. Even less than that, because at a book signing, what happens? A guy like Jack Welch, you come in when you're about 5, 6, 7 people from Jack, somebody comes up to you and says, what's your name? They write your name down on a piece of paper so Jack can write your name on the book. They say, but in reality, it's so you don't talk to him. He doesn't have to say to you, what's your name? He said, Chris, good luck, keep going. Problem one, there's 300 people in line. If I try to stop and talk to Jack Welch for even 20 seconds, we're now there for 6 hours, right? Problem two, Jack Welch, a legitimate celebrity. They don't know who I am. They haven't put me through a metal detector. They don't know I don't have a gun. As a matter of fact, I have a gun. But they don't know that I'm an FBI agent. They haven't got any ID for me. I could come up. I'm going to get within arm's length of Jack Welch. I could do what I want. Jane Fonda was at a book signing a number of years ago. A Vietnam vet got within arm's length of her and spit right in her face. Action is quicker than reaction. I'm going to be arm's length from Jack Welch. He's got security people there that are worried about his safety. They know they can't stop me from doing whatever I want to do. I could walk up to Jack Welch. I could take his face in my hands and kiss him right on the lips if I wanted to. He got a disgusted look on his face from that. But they don't know what I'm going to do. So everybody's more than jumpy. I walk up to Jack Welch and this is what I say. Is it a ridiculous idea for you to come and speak at the negotiation course that I teach at USC? And he looks up and to the left, he gets this really intense scowl on his face and he just freezes. He doesn't move. And I think, I just killed Jack Welch. Because he's old, right? I figure he got mad. And he had a stroke and he's going to die because he's so angry. He's going to fall right in front of me. And then they're going to tackle me. They're going to blame me. They're going to drag me out in cuffs. And I'll say, but I'm an FBI agent. And, well, you killed Jack Welch. Doesn't matter. So initially, when he doesn't die, I'm relieved. But he still doesn't move. And I'm thinking, now he's going to start going, security, security, because he looks furious. Finally, he looks at me and he says, this is my personal assistant's name. This is a special Twitter account we have set up to communicate with her. I will call her, tell her who you are and what you want. I think we're going to be in Los Angeles in the fall. If we are, we'll come in and speak to your course. Because I triggered a no. I triggered a calibrated no, a calculated no. I changed the yes question to a no. And I'm here to tell you, a calibrated no is worth 5 yeses. Think about what he thought through and the steps that he thought through before he answered me. Because all the rest of that stuff I would have had, if he'd have said yes, I'd have said, who do I get in touch with? How do I coordinate with them? How do I communicate with them? Will you call them and brief them? We're talking about the fall. Where are you going to be in the fall? Think of how many questions he went ahead and answered for me. It's insane. We do this on a regular basis. I don't bother with yes. We did a training in New York just about earlier this month. It's still May, right? We did about 2 weeks ago. Very intensive master class. I happened to run across Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank in New York, or in LA just a couple weeks ago. By the way, a wonderful guy. I mean, a wonderful, gracious, charming, impressive guy. I would work with him. I would work for him. He was telling me about how he develops his people. Phenomenal guy. I offer him a free ticket. He's gracious enough to say, how many can we buy? And so we're going back and forth on how many he could buy, and I'm trying to get a commitment out of him, and the event is selling. Like, the door is slamming shut. And I realized that if I don't get a nearly instantaneous commitment from him, because we're charging people a lot of money for these tickets. We're charging people just short of $2,000 per head to be there, and we got people buying them. I can't keep this window open for him. I don't care if he is a billionaire. We got people want these tickets. So at 5 o'clock on a Friday, I have to get a commitment from him now. We're in LA, 5 o'clock on a Friday, it's 8 p.m. here in New York. The other problem is business opens in New York 3 hours earlier than it does in Los Angeles. If I haven't got him committed before the start of the next business day, he's out. I sent him an email that says, are you against making a commitment for these tickets now? Are you against paying for them before the start of business tomorrow? And I get an email back instantly, says, no, we're going to take 3 in total. We'll pay for them before business starts tomorrow. Less than 20 minutes later, I'm getting emails from his assistants to pay. Now, what would you have done normally? How many would you like? Would you please commit now? Can you pay before the close of business tomorrow would be the normal thing, but it's going to be too late. But you help people think by switching out of yes and into no. I don't bother with yes. We don't bother with yes. I could belabor it at length. Yes is commitment. Commitment creates anxiety. No is protection. Protection makes people feel safe and secure and helps them think. Anxiety interferes with people's thought processes. Every time you try to get somebody to say yes to something, you're creating anxiety because they say to themselves, what have I let myself in for? What's the catch? What's the hook? Where's this going? What are you trying to do to me? These are anxiety-creating instances which interfere with their ability to make decisions. It's not me telling you this. This is neuroscience. Anxiety slows the brain. Don't take my word for it. Okay, fine. So what if no is not enough? And this is really what sold the book to the publisher. They'd never seen anything like this before. It's in our utter disdain for yes. Because what's the most famous negotiating book in the world anyway, right? Everybody knows Getting to Yes, right? Yes is supposed to be what you want to get people to say. Yes is not what you want people to say. This is what you want them to say after the no. Now, that's kind of disappointing, right? Like, that's not special. That doesn't make me feel good the way yes makes me feel good. I love yes. I got a bad addiction to yes. I'm happy when I hear you. That's right. It's not what it is to you when it comes out of their mouth. It's what it is to them. That's right is what people say when they think that what they've just heard is the total and complete truth. There's two simultaneous things that happen. It triggers a subtle epiphany in people's brains. There's a chemical change with epiphany. They feel better. They feel smarter. They feel clarity. Stephen Covey's advice from way back when, seek first to understand, then be understood. And so we thought, okay, all we got to do is say to somebody, I understand. And then you get to talk, right? Because they're ready to hear you. No. It's the changes show understanding first. Trigger a that's right, then and only then are they ready to hear you. Whatever political side of the aisle you're on, I'll give you an example to prove it to you. Last presidential election, the two candidates were on TV engaged in a debate when whichever candidate you loved, when you decided to vote for them, they said something in the debate you thoroughly believed in. You didn't look at the TV and say, you're right. You looked at the TV and you went, that's right. That's what people say when they're all in. They say, that's right. Also, I had somebody stop me and say, I think it's when the person is telling you they feel empathy from you. Empathy is this powerful mystical tool. Empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is not sympathy. I don't know how many times I could say that. Empathy is not sympathy. And it triggers a moment when they feel bonded to you. And that's where you've built trust-based influence. You know who the greatest practitioners of empathy are on the planet? Do you guys know? Very close. Sociopaths. Why do you think it's the preferred communication approach of sociopaths? Because they like you? Because it works? Because they like to work hard? Because sociopaths have a great work ethic? Yeah, I want to hire a sociopath. They work really hard. It's efficient. It sticks. It lasts. It's the most durable form of influence there is. Sociopaths are lazy. They want to wind you up once and then keep you wound up with a minimal amount of effort. All right, fine. So they like it. Does it work on them? I love this question. Does empathy work on sociopaths? We think. Here's a sociopath. Can I have a slide back, please? Guy up on the right. Guy at the bottom is American overseas doing stupid stuff. He gets grabbed by this guy. Guy in the sunglasses and a black bandana. Make no mistake, is a murdering, raping, straight out of the movies, bad to the bones, sociopath. He's a killer. He's got the blood on his hands, literally, of no shortage of people that he has physically and personally cut their heads off. These guys got a method of chopping heads off that was shown to me and explained to me they're actually kind of proud of. They're so effective at it. It's like a contest. How efficiently can you chop a head off of a human being? This guy's done it a bunch of times. And a rapist. And he finds a woman that he likes, he rapes her enough, she becomes pregnant, him and his buddies shove her down a hill so she miscarriages so they can keep her. These are not nice guys. These are the definitions of sociopath. They've got this American. I am coaching this guy. Because I was an international negotiation coach, is what I really was. All I need to do is find somebody that's coachable. If you're coachable, I don't care what you're faced with. I can make you pretty effective because I know how the brain science works. By the way, is this stuff cross-cultural? Do you guys know every hostage negotiation team uses the same skills? The hostage negotiation team in Tokyo, Japan, and in Cape Town, South Africa, both use the same skills. Wait a minute, Japan to Africa? You got to be kidding me, right? What's the commonality? They're human. So that's the limitation. My approach to negotiation only works where humans are involved. So Our sociopath is holding this American, and there's a $10 million demand, but he's not saying it's a ransom. He's saying it's for $10 million for 500 years of oppression, for war damages from the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans, to the atrocities committed by the Americans in the early 1900s under Blackjack Pershing. And we're not even Filipinos anyway. We're a separate independent nation. We're Moros, and we're currently being oppressed by a puppet government in Manila that's held up by an American colonial invader. So we're not asking for ransom, we're asking for war damages for 500 years of oppression, which actually makes $10 million seem kind of small. And I realize right now most of you are tuning this out in your mind because you're saying, like, I was never in an argument with somebody where they were bringing up stuff from the past that didn't matter. It doesn't happen to me. All my arguments are logical and rational. Right. So we go back and forth with this guy literally for months, and finally I say to my guy, we're going to hit the reset button here. And this, my son's referred to this as the birth of the that's right moment. Because I used to take this for granted. I didn't realize the extraordinary power of it. I said, the next time we get this sociopath on the phone, we're going to get him to say that's right. And you're going to repeat the entire situation from his perspective, especially the bad stuff about us. That might be the most critical part of it. The bad stuff about you. So my guy gets back on the phone with this terrorist, and he says, you know what, you're not asking for ransom for the American, but you're asking for war damages for 500 years of oppression. From the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans, the violations, the atrocities under Blackjack Pershing and the Americans in the 1900s. And you're not Filipinos, you're Moros. You're a separate independent nation, been fighting for your freedom for 500 years. And you're being oppressed currently by a puppet government in Manila. It's held up by the American colonial invaders, and it's unjust and it's wrong. And he went on and on. If you're not, and he laid it on thick. And I'm here to tell you, if you're not laying it on thick, you're not laying it on thick enough. The bad stuff. Not the good stuff, the bad stuff. And probably, and it didn't seem like it'd take that long, but it seemed forever. It took my guy to lay this out, and there was a moment of silence, and a sociopath on the other end of the phone said, that's right. And it was dead silence for another couple of moments, and my guy says, let's talk again in a couple of days. Okay, hangs up the phone. We went from $10 million to zero in that moment. The $10 million went off the table, never to be mentioned again for the rest of the kidnapping. Lasted a couple more months. Kidnapping took a couple twists and turns. Finally, one day, the Americans out in the swamp, we have so diffused everything they're doing, they're not even watching them anymore. They're not angry. They don't know that we've diffused them. They don't know what sort of an upper hand we have on them. They just don't know what's going on. The American, they're checking on him every 3 days. He's sitting out there in the swamp, says, I'm leaving, and he walks away. Local farmer sees him, says, you must be Jeffrey Schilling, the American. He says, I am. You know, how many black guys walking around in south of the Philippines, right? He says, I am. They alert the military flies down in helicopters, picks him up, they take him back to Manila, they hold this monumental press conference. He's got the President of the Philippines on one side, Secretary of Defense on the other. Secretary of Defense says, we have rescued the American Jeffrey Schilling in a daring military operation. They gave him a ride. It was a daring operation at the Newark Airport yesterday where I was rescued. He's sitting there, he doesn't say anything. We fly him out back to the United States. And back in the Philippines about 3 weeks later on another kidnapping, I connect back up with my guy. He says, you're not going to believe who called me. I don't know who called you. The terrorist, a guy named Sabaya. Sabaya called. Really? What'd he say? Have you been promoted yet? I don't know what it was that he said to me on the phone. I was going to kill the American. They should promote you. He hangs up. What's he saying when he made that call? Terrorist sociopath called to pay his respects. Called to pay his respects to say, I felt respected by you. He's also saying, I'd talk to you again. If we meet again, I'd talk to you. Everybody you deal with, regardless of the outcome, should feel that solid about the interaction when it's over, no matter how the interaction went, that they'd still deal with you. Everybody you deal with. And you'd be amazed at the impact it'll have, not just on your business, but on your personal relationships, on everybody in life that matters to you. All right. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A here in a minute, but I want you to know, if you want more besides the book, if you want to add to it, only if you want more. We've got a newsletter comes out once a week, short, sweet newsletter. It's very digestible. It's not one of those, it's an encyclopedia that you got to take a nap after you get done reading it. Text FBI empathy, all one word. Don't let your autocorrect put a space between FBI and empathy. Send that to 22828. You'll get a dialog box back that'll sign you up for the newsletter. A lot of people love it as a great supplement to the book. And it's also the gateway to everything that we do. When we do training sessions, open enrollment training sessions, it's a gateway to the website, which is blackswanltd.com. But the newsletter will take you there. Read past issues, find out about other stuff that we have. We have quite a bit of free content on the newsletter, on the website, and a lot of articles in the newsletter. You can search them, you can find a lot of stuff there that'll help you. Subscribing to the newsletter is a great tool, and it's free, it's complimentary. For those of you like me, former federal employees, you love free. All right. Q&A.
Good deal. Thank you. All right. We have time for just a few quick questions. So if there's anybody that is dying to ask Chris something, raise your hand and speak loudly. I see a hand over there. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
So Chris, awesome job. Great speech. I had to know, what's it like when Chris Voss walks into a car dealership at Black?
There you go.
I got a car buying story in the book. And we just, on our YouTube channel, a friend of mine, the guy I told you about, was negotiating with South Koreans. He tells his car buying story. And we get good prices.
You do that as a service, by the way? Is it?
Yeah, I hope you get a car.
There you go. That's good. Yes?
Chris, what do you do when you go for a no and you get a yes?
Well, see, that's a great question.
When you go for a no and you get a yes, if you didn't hear the question.
First of all, nobody will do that. And I already know. I know how hard it is for anybody to say yes. I mean, it's insanely hard. And my son used to challenge me on this. We're walking out of a building with a client here in New Jersey across the river, and they got a security guard who has checked us in, and we're checking out. And he's a security guard, and he's got Allied Security. And so my son says, I don't think it's always hard for somebody to say yes to something. And the security guard's right there, and I look at him, I go, do you work for Allied Security? Now he's at work, on duty. He's the same guy that checked us in the morning. He remembers us from the morning before. He's got a uniform on, says Allied Security. I said, you work for Allied Security? And he goes, why do you want to know?
Yeah, that's right.
And I look at my son, and I go, now, in the unlikely event the answer is yes, what you are going to get is silence. They're just not going to say yes. Now, on 1 in 10,000, because we like asking ridiculous you'll be shocked at the no questions we ask. We coach employees to ask their bosses, do you want me to fail? And every now and then, if the answer is yes, you will get silence. And also part of negotiation is you go from wondering to knowing. And you're never worse off. You might not like the answer, but you cannot move forward until you know what ground you're standing on. And so if the answer is, have you given, a question we send out all the time, have you given up on doing business with the Black Swan Group? If they don't respond, you know what we do next? Pursue someone else. How many non-responders do you have? You know how many we have? None. Because we don't pursue that business. If they're not going to do business with us, there are lots of people who will. And I'm not wasting my time on people who won't do business with us.
Love that. Absolutely. Win fast, lose fast. Who else? Another quick question. I'm not seeing a hand. I have one really interesting thing in the book. You make this argument that the smarter you are, the more difficult it is to be a good negotiator. So there's hope for a lot of us in the room. Yeah. Talk about that. Why is that?
Smart people, people with higher degrees, they want to show you how smart they are. You can't get them to shut up. I mean, you can't. They just want to show you how they've thought stuff through. They want you to appreciate how much they've thought stuff through. And so they want to lay it all out for you. They want to help. I mean, it's very well-intentioned stuff, but it's really hard to get those kind of people to shut up.
Yeah, yeah. And this is about shutting up, asking the question, and getting information from who you're talking to. Getting them to talk, not me to talk.
Your counterpart should be talking 5 times more than you.
Yeah.
We like to say, he who talks most loses.
That's good. That's good. He who talks most loses. Who has a question? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm not asking anything now. I'm just going to listen.
Actually, we do have time for yeah, Frank.
How about when it comes to like a wife and kids, negotiating with that?
Yeah, wife and kids negotiating with that. We don't have a lot of time. So.
Senior executive, although very young lady, executive in Silicon Valley, is talking to her then fiance, now husband, one day, and she goes, "Why do I like talking to you all of a sudden?" So, you know, this last couple of days I've really enjoyed talking to you. And he's like, taking this class and they're teaching this book, Never Split the Difference, and they're making us do it with our wives and our girlfriends. She went out and bought books for all her girlfriends, husbands, and boyfriends.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I saw a hand here. Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Melvin Williams from M&N.
Hi, Melvin.
Just wanted to know if it's a ridiculous idea
Ooh.
for me to ask you if you could clear your schedule for the rest of the day. A lot of the businesses in your area today that we've been working with, they've experienced some security outbreaks, and we've been trying to work with them. And most of the businesses are struggling to fight technology today. And really, I understand everything that you're going through, so I'm just wondering, is it possible for you to clear your schedule so we can talk about and help you grow your business?
All right, so what did he...
Break that down.
He pitched like crazy, right? He did a nice job. He says, it's a ridiculous idea for me to clear my schedule for the rest of the day. And then he 3-4 sentences to lay out the pitch. And then he said, I understand, which is bad. You should never say I understand. You had a really good start. Your pitch needs to be a lot shorter, but did I pitch with that father?
No, you didn't.
No.
Yeah.
That was the other thing I didn't do. I didn't pitch the father. I didn't pitch solutions. I didn't pitch answers. I said, here's what you're looking at, and waited to see if he was going to interact with me on what he was looking at. So you got a good start. That's the first fact that you already picked up on to starting out with a no-oriented question is, but you're still wired to pitch. You're still wired to pitch.
Yeah.
And getting a that's right out of the other side before you proceed. Seek first to understand before you can be understood. You should get a that's right before you make the pitch. On top of that, when you get the feedback back from your counterpart, you guys have a broad value proposition. How do you know which portion of that proposition is valuable? Your counterpart, you got 7 selling points. Your counterpart might be interested in 2. Every time spent on the other top 5 is your counterpart is starting to go to sleep on you. Yeah. So the guidance that you want to get, you want to know exactly which part of your pitch matters to them. And then, now that you've honed, you know which part of the value proposition is actually there for them, now you can go into it.
Yeah.
So you're on the right track. Good start, and there's a coach going to rest.
You have a good example of that on the podcast we just released, Chris, where we role play a little bit where we say, hey, Chris, I was at your website, saw one of your videos, really liked it, would love to understand more about Black Swan. Give me your pitch real quick. What do you guys do, and how does this all work? Right?
Yeah. And so my answer was, sounds like you're not sure we're valuable. Or it would be.
Yeah.
Because I need to know what you think is valuable. We don't pitch.
Yeah.
We find out what matters.
Yeah.
And then if what you're looking for is not us, we're like, you're not looking for us. Because we need to talk to the people that are looking for us.
So much of what you talk about is counterintuitive and kind of goes against how we've always operated. This isn't an easy shift for people to make. The 63, I think I heard, repetitions to make it a habit, they'll get there.
Yeah, and a little bit of practice and prep. So I got a video to show you about the value of preparation, if I may.
Go for it.
All right, slides back up.
A proof of life video, that's what they're called. The ultimate good news, bad news story, if you're ever unfortunate enough to see one. Today's high-stakes rescue mission in Colombia ended a drama that has been dragging on for years. Chris Voss is the former FBI lead international kidnapping negotiator, and he worked on the...
All right, so in terms of preparation, what are my preparation issues here? It's a little dark, but on the right-hand side of my head, my hair is sticking out the side. So this was the first time I was ever on CNN. Like, I gotta tell you something, I thought this was cool. Like, I'm gonna go in, there are more people watching Anderson Cooper on CNN than are in my hometown back in Iowa. And there's so much I don't know. Like, I heard they have a green room. Do they have a green room? And is it green? They have a green room, it's not green. All right, so I knew. You go into the green room, you sit down, it's kind of a nice place, they're very nice to you, they give you coffee, they give you water. I think that's cool, it's free coffee. I'm from Iowa, they don't give free coffee. And then, do you know where you go after the green room? Makeup. Now, I can remember the first time I was sitting in that makeup chair and they're putting makeup on my face, and I thought, my father's rolling over in his grave right now. His son is putting on makeup. Again, a middle-class, blue-collar guy from Iowa. I didn't wear makeup growing up in Iowa. So you get out of makeup, then they take you into a room that's actually a large, dark closet. You're not in a studio with Anderson Cooper. Light shines right in your eyes. You're supposed to look right below the light. That's Anderson, talk right there. That's the camera. You got to look at that. And they say down and to the left is a monitor. And when we go live, the monitor is going to come on, and it'll show the program. And do you want us to leave that on? And I said, leave that on. I never saw me on TV before. I want to watch me on CNN. Leave that baby on. So we've just gone live. The monitor's on. And I'm looking down at the monitor, and I see my hair sticking out. And I am perplexed. Now, the other problem here is the monitor is a mirror image, and I don't know which side of my head the hair is sticking out. So I'm a negotiator, right? I generate options. I figure stuff out. So the first thing I got to do is I got to figure out which side of my head the hair is sticking out so I can address it. So
this case from the beginning until his retirement just last year, he joins me now. Chris, this has got to be kind of...
I don't know why I thought moving my head around was going to help. But you can see from the look on my face, I'm going like, nah, that didn't help. Still don't know where it is. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do. I'm trying to generate options. What are my moves, and when can I make my move? Because there are more people. My mom and the people she goes to church with are watching this thing. They're going to give her a hard time, and her son doesn't know how to comb his hair. I got to fix this. So, like, I can't go with two hands because, I kind of look like one of the Three Stooges. I probably can't lick my hand. Try to tamp it down. So I'm trying to decide what to do. I'm sitting there. This is going through my mind.
A remarkable day for you to be so...
Anderson Cooper's hair is perfect. Why do they got to make sure everybody sees that my hair is out of place? Anderson Cooper could be in a hurricane and his hair wouldn't move. I know that while this was going on, the producer was going like, hey, let's go split screen. Let's make sure everybody sees how good Anderson's hair is. So they go split screen, and now I'm even more disgusted by this. You can see that look on my face. And I'm trying to decide what to do. When can I make my move? Because the clock is ticking. This is like that double Dutch jump rope thing where there's two ropes going. You know, when can you jump in? When can I go? When can I go? When can I go? I got to take care of this. My mom's watching. Her friends are watching. So I'm sitting there, and when can I make my move?
Closely involved in this, and to finally see it come to fruition.
Damn it. So what I'm trying to say is, and we finished the interview with Anderson Cooper, and they didn't ban me from Anderson Cooper as a result. They invited me back on. What I'm trying to say is, you'll make mistakes. It's okay. A solid approach where people feel respected and appreciated, and you get that's right out of them. They feel empathy from you. You'll make mistakes, and it'll be okay. They'll forgive you for them. So I'd like everybody to stand up, please. All right, you guys remember at the beginning of this, I talked about the men in black. Well, those guys actually worked for me. Remember the little red flashy thing those guys had? Everybody look up here, please. All right, from this point forward, after today, everybody that you deal with will feel that they were treated with respect. You understood them. No matter how the outcome went, they felt bonded to you, they felt connected to you by the chance to talk with you and collaborate with you. And they felt that a long-term relationship was established, that they'd deal with you again no matter how things went. Thank you for spending time with me this morning. It's been a privilege to be here with you guys. Thank you very much.